This episode of SJHL Insider is presented by our friends at SGI. A reminder from our friends at SGI, if you do go out, have a good time, but make sure those good times can happen again by always finding a safe ride home.
All right, welcome inside to another episode of SJHL Insider. I'm your host, Clark Munroe. We're here at the IKS Media Studios. It's going to be a great show today. We have a lot to talk about from the beginning of this week. Obviously, the entire league was in a different province, in Manitoba, at the SJHL MJHL Showcase, including my co-host. We won't bring him in yet, though. Got to give him a chance to settle down. He just flew in, and boy, are his arms tired. But we'll get to that in a second. So obviously 6 big games took place in Winnipeg. We'll recap those 6. We'll talk about some of the players that stood out and have a little fun with that. Plus, we're going to be joined by the new head coach and general manager of the Estevan Bruins, Drew Kocur. So talk about his first week or so at the helm of the team and the transition that took place there. So we'll talk about that and get his thoughts on the league and the showcase as well, because he was also there. And we're going to talk about what's coming up this weekend. There's 3 days of games this weekend across the league, so we'll talk about some of that and kind of get you back into the zone now that the showcase is over and we're getting back into the home stretch of the SJHL. But first, we got to thank our sponsors, of course. So Cantera Seeds, Borgo, Capital Automall, Sask Lotteries, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, who, by the way, sponsors our coaches interviews, so that we'll be talking with Drew Kocur later. That is presented by Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association. Nutrien, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, UPL, SGEU, Great Western, SGI, and RBC. We just had a great chat before the show started with last year's RBC Community Ambassador Program winner, Joey Lees. Look for that a little bit later on in the month of February. We'll have a little feature coming out with that in mind. But we got to bring in the man of the hour here because he just, like I said, he just flew in. And when I say flew, I mean drove. Jamie Neugebauer, voice of the Notre Dame Hounds and co-director of media here at the SJHL. Jamie, you just got back from 3 days in Winnipeg. Obviously, the showcase is always a great time. However, the record didn't indicate that the SJHL did as good as they've done recently. However, we don't have to worry about that too much. We had some fun there. How was your trip?
Yeah, it was amazing. I really enjoyed every minute of it. It was really cool. It's always cool. You know this, Clark. Yeah. Whenever the SJHL community gets together, we rib each other. We have a great time. I wondered, I was speaking to the MJ media people. Do you guys, is it like that with you guys? And I'm sure they have a great time. But, I was harassing Cody Mapes and I'm like, do you treat coaches in your league like this? Or, it was funny and fun. And, I've been taking all sorts of heat. The last thing
there's a bit of a controversy.
Big controversy because Cody Mapes, who I will throw under the bus because he deserves to be under the bus.
Yeah, for sure.
He said, "Hey, why don't you do the starting lineups?" Because I was going to mic up whoever was going to do it, and he said, "Why don't you do it?" I said, "Fine." So I did it. I didn't knock over any sticks, even though I almost did.
Almost did. There's a video proof of this.
There is video. So go to SJHL social media. Yeah. It is there of me mic'd up doing the starting lineup for Team SJHL Gold. In my defense, Cody Mapes said it was a great idea for you to do. And also in my defense, I walked in and I was like, geez, these guys are asleep. But
it was early in the morning.
It was an 11 o'clock game, but it's the same for both teams.
Yeah.
But I also will say too that the MJ teams, and we'll get into this, the last thing I'll say here is the MJ teams, the veterans teams, were run over a little bit in the first day. So they know they had some pride on the line. And so that can always be a tough thing. So anyways, that all to say, it was amazing.
Yeah, day 1, very much in the SJ's favor. Day 2, the exact opposite. Yeah. But we'll dive into that right now, actually, in the Prairie Proud Hat Trick.
It's time!
We got producer Steven just dancing away behind the camera. You can't see him, but he's right behind the camera.
If only Team SJ Gold on yesterday morning had that much energy as Steven does.
As Steven. They might have put
better
together performance together. Who knows? Let's look at. We're going to go game by game. and basically look at kind of the results, the goal scorers, who did what in each game. We'll kind of recap them quickly. There are 6 of them, so we're not going to dive super deep into each and individual one. But let's have a look at game 1 now. This one, of course, featured, we just talked about them a little bit, but featured Team SJHL Gold. And now there we go. They got a 5-2 win over Team Red. As you can see, this was I'm going to call it the Flin Flon Weyburn show.
Yeah.
As Anthony Piccinino had a great game. He was the player of the game for that one. Ethan DK, Jerome Maharaj had a nice game. Max Chakrabarty got on the scoring. As I mentioned, Luke Lepper got in on some of the scoring. Ryder Ringer got in there. Jackson Ruthven got in there. And then you see Kent Moores got a big goal at the end of the game. I know Jaden Iogan, Boston Harkness of the Melbourne Millionaires got involved. So Angelo Zoll, the winning goalie on this one, Nugsy. It sure seemed, and when we were talking a little bit during the game, it sure seemed like Team SJ had all the momentum for the most part in this one. What were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so just very quickly, I mean, obviously, chemistry brings it to bear, and the top 2 lines on Team Gold were the top line was all Weyburn guys, second line was all Flin Flon guys.
Yeah.
And they were whipping it around nicely. I would say probably there are more reps, actually, with the Flin Flon guys playing together than you seeing Ethan DK and Jerome Maharaj playing together. They usually don't.
Right.
For Weyburn, though, I wonder if Cody Mapes might be like, you know what?
Hey, this isn't the
Not
worst
a bad
idea.
But certainly, you know, if I was going to pick one SJ player for the whole event, that probably opened my eyes in a lot of ways was Ethan DK. Kind of expected that.
Sure.
He was wonderful in that game too. You know, Angelo Zoll, good when he needed to be, but in you know, it was a lot of, especially that top 2 lines whipping the puck around. They were terrific. And yeah, it was a well-deserved win right away. And I think the MJA team was, you know, caught not ready to go. And a little bit of chemistry from those 2 lines really played a big part, as you could see in the stats.
Yeah, and I mean, back to the Weyburn thing with Cody Mapes. The lucky part for him is that he's got 2 of the league's top scorers. Literally, they are 1 and 2 at the moment. They're tied, but you know what I mean. Or no, I think they are actually 1 and 2 right now. But either way, he can spread those guys out. And their lineup is so balanced and deep, and he does, like you said. So it's a good problem to have, and you know what? If he puts them together on a line at some point, it's probably going to be magic. And having Jackson Ruthven there too, like another really, really solid player, top to bottom. It's just a really great line. But yeah, it was good to see them get off to a great start on day 1, and you like to see that first win. And I'll say fairly handily, but not a huge blowout necessarily, but a really nice game from everybody. And then you move into game 2, Nugsy.
Yeah.
And this one you said, holy cow, Team White is taking it to them, and they're looking great.
Yeah.
As you can see, Christian Coombs had 18 saves on the game, which is a low number. As you see, both goalies had a low number of saves, considering there was 13 goals scored in the game. But Keenan Ingram had 3 points. Zach Summers, I believe, did he not have 3 points? I thought he had 3 points, Zach Summers.
I think he had 2.
Just the 2. Keenan Ingram, though, 2 goals and an assist.
No, he had 3, right?
He had 3, yeah, so there you go. Jacob Streetsy, goal and assist. Ashton Hutchinson got in there. As you can see, the Mustangs were busy scoring goals. The Melfort Mustangs. Humboldt had a couple representatives on there. We expected Keenan Ingram to get on the score sheet for sure.
Yeah.
Oakley McElwain, a couple of assists. Ty Thornton, a couple of assists. Boris Kaufman got in there. Jaron Denwye got in there. Dustin Renas and Nick Andrusiak. So really huge game from Team White. And this originally, when I was watching this take place and unfold, I was like, they're making me look very smart, because I said Team White was going to have a great tournament, and they're having this great first game, and they're putting up a ton of points, and like you said, Nugs, I think your quote, I think it was with our group chat with Roy McGoran. I think you said, "Who knew?" If you put Yorkton's forward group with Melfort's defensive group, that they would be a really good team. Who knew?
Who knew?
And I think I made the joke, can we do that for the Centennial Cup? Can we? Is that allowed? I don't think that's allowed.
Make a super team?
Yeah, just an all-star
like
team.
Like they kind of do with the Spengler Cup, the European teams.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
Yeah, well,
but yeah, game 2 seemed to go all SJ on that one.
Yeah, it got out of hand. You know, obviously I'll say too, Christian Green is a wonderful goalie for the Steinbach Pistons. He did not have a good night or a good day, whatever. But everybody on the MJ side were saying, he's usually much better than this.
Yeah.
So I know he'll have a better day, and that'll be that. But certainly the Melfort boys were buzzing. And you know what? Like we've seen it a lot this year with the Yorkton Terriers games, right? Like a game gets disjointed, chances are flying. You don't want a game to be open against the Yorkton Terriers. And, you could see the chemistry there again. Ingram and Denwaye and those guys just buzzing around everywhere. And probably one of the nicest, maybe the nicest goal of the tournament was scored by Ashton Hutchinson as well. But, I mean, I spoke in the first talking about the first game about having that chemistry piece. So many Melfort Mustangs together, you could tell that they knew what they were, where each other were.
Yeah.
And last thing I'll say again, disjointed game when chances are flying. Keenan Ingram is the guy you want on your team in the SJ, and he did not make any mistake. He scored a nice goal too. So a couple goals, in fact, for him.
Yeah.
And they got they put Ingram and Renus on the wings of Riley Kotai, which worked very well.
Yeah.
Imagine being a D-man and those three guys are coming at you.
I was
Not
listening
a fun time,
to the broadcast. This was on day 2, but of Team White's day 2 game, and they were all talking about how Riley Kotai likes to throw the body around and get physical, and his size and everything, and I can just picture that line just being so good. Dustin Renus is so smooth and quick and such a good playmaker, and Keenan Ingram just takes over. So that's a dominant line. It's a fun one to put together. I like that.
Yeah, it was exactly what those type of skill guys wanted in a game. It got out of hand, and I think from that moment, maybe the MJ guys were like,
all right,
think we better have a meeting or something. I don't know if there was like a meeting,
players only meeting
like,
for a showcase event.
It felt like it was way out of hand.
Yeah.
By the end of that one.
Well, then we go to game 3, of course, and this was the Young Guns. This is the 18U teams, and you see there Team White snuck one out there in a shootout. Ethan Sotner and Rylan Wheeler, though, for the Kindersley Clippers, both did get on the score sheet goals-wise. Nick Ajan, Connor Miller, and Raiden Zacharias got assists in this one. Madden Malaka, 18 saves. By all accounts, had a great game, generally, overall.
Yeah.
But it was the Team Manitoba that did kind of... They broke the barrier of getting at least a win. I know it was in a shootout, so it wasn't a clean, just regulation win, but that must have felt good for them. And overall... How did Team SJ look in this one?
Well, the first thing I'll say is it really kind of started this run of remarkable games by Manitoba goalies.
Right.
Like they had 4 games in a row, spoiler alert, where their goalies were absolutely incredible. And Mitchell Cathler, it's a very kind of similar story to Brett O'Halloran, that he wasn't, supposed to be the number 1 goalie where he is. There in Portage, and then because he was the younger guy, and then he was thrown into it, and then he's been lighting it up. So he showed his quality. Not that Malaka wasn't good, because he was good too. But yeah, it was cagey. Both Young Guns games were both super cagey. I was talking to Eric Soar, the great media guy for the MJ, and we're like, in past years the Young Guns games have been wide open and scoring and whatever. Like it was the opposite. The Vets games were the open ones, and the Young Guns ones were the pace was great in every game, but. And this one was interesting. The MJ has some very, very talented young players. I think even younger just in general than the SJ team was. And good for those 2 Clippers to help out and chip in and tie it up. Sotner and Wheeler both scoring the goal. So 2 Kindersley boys and the Clippers young guys showed super well as they have all year.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a reason there's so many young players getting showcased.
The next day, Brett O'Halloran was unbelievable. So lots of good Clippers that are young players. But Sotner and Wheeler, great game. And yeah, just both shootouts were not the best shootouts ever. But, the shootout, it's a flip of the coin.
Yeah,
at that point.
who knows?
So there you go.
So after day 1, Team SJHL had a 2-0-0-1 record, and I'm thinking going into day 2, all right, we're going to see a little bit more of the same. This is going to be great. We're showing really well right now. Day 1 comes along. Nugsy reads the starting lineup for Team Gold.
It's all my fault.
It's all your fault, Nugsy. But let's have a look at day 2, game 1. Team Black really came out and played a solid game. However, there was a lot of shots.
Right.
Cole Sheffield.
Unfreaking believable.
Yeah.
Like I was like, geez, this guy was a a brick wall. Like I was talking to Marko Djordjevic, of course, who played on Team Gold, the Notre Dame forward, and they just felt like there was a force field. They had all sorts of chances. They had 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s. Like the Dauphin Kings goaltender, he's not 22-9 in the MJ for nothing. And you say 5-1, you're like, okay, like one-sided. It wasn't one-sided. It kind of spiraled quickly in the second period because there was actually a really controversial moment in the second period because former Hound and Weyburn Red Wing, Matteo Speranza, scored a goal at the 13-minute mark in the second period that I still don't know if it went in or not, like it hit the crossbar or it went the back bar.
Right.
The ref seemed pretty clear about it. The MJ, just in general, had a big advantage in power plays, I think, on the day. But, that is what it is. But the bottom line is, I think the SJ guys took their eye off the prize for a second, being frustrated. It was just 2-1 at that point. Yorkton native Grady Hoffman scored the goal to make it 2-1. And then Speranza, the former, SJHLer, has that goal off the crossbar that doesn't get counted, or does count, rather. And then they score another one. And then it's a tough battle. And they pulled the goalie, and that allowed Cameron Bullinger to pad his stats a little bit, as good as he is.
Yeah.
So it kind of got away. Both goalies were good, but Sheffield was the star of that one for sure.
Yeah, 43 saves. I mean, I was watching this one, and
he was awesome.
Was Dave Anthony on the call? Was it Dave?
Yeah, I think so.
It seemed like I was multitasking. But it seemed like every couple minutes it was big chance for Team SJHL.
Yeah.
Like it seemed like they were all over it. So it's just
they
a matter of
started slow, but they built their way in and had plenty of chances. Like in the third period, they outshot the MJ 21-7.
Yeah. So, I mean, they definitely, like you said,
they had 21 shots in the period and didn't score with all their weapons.
A 5-1 game, but from what I saw watching it and from what you saw in the building, it didn't feel like a one-sided game. It was just they played great. They had a really good day, and, Team SJHL just couldn't bury a couple chances. Then we move on to game 2, and I'm like, it's okay. Team White's got this. They'll bounce back. And it was a good game. It was very close, high scoring, but very close. As you see some other former SJHL names on the left there on Team MJHL, red. But Dustin Renis, Jerron Denwye, Riley Kotai, and Jacob Streetsy got goals for Team Saskatchewan. Justin Merrick made 26 saves on the day. Keenan Ingram added a couple more assists. So I think, does that mean he ended up being the leading scorer of the tournament, of the event? Keenan Ingram, because he would have had 5 points, it looks like.
Bullinger was the
leading was he? Okay, yeah, you're right. Good call. David Coyle got an assist, and Nikita Ivashenko. So it was a great game. It just, it seemed to me, from what I saw, and again, I was multitasking, but I did watch a large majority of the game. It just seemed like a couple mistakes kind of led to this going the other way.
Well, it was 3-2 SJ at the 2:48 mark of the third period. Jerron Denwye, his offensive instincts are as good as any in the SJHL. We've seen that all year. Just pops up in the right spot in the slot and fires one home, and it's 3-2, and it looks fine. But penalty trouble, that was a thing too. Again, the SJHL didn't manage the situation well, and there's some real weapons. I mean, like Adam Vigfussen, for example, from Niverville, boy, he was buzzing. Quincy Suprian, like he's as fast as anybody. In
we saw him at the Warman Showcase.
That's right. He can scoot. So they just kind of jumped on then a little bit of a lack of focus for about 5 minutes, 6 minutes there in the third period, and when you don't focus against weapons like this, just like we saw, with the same SJ team the game before. When they jumped on the MJ team, there's weapons galore all over the place, and the SJ took their eye off the ball, and then you're kind of in panic stations, and there was a late penalty to Oakley McIlwain, and that obviously took some momentum out too, and Jacob Streetsy penalty killing. Don't see that too often for the Humboldt Broncos, but he actually stripped MJHLer nicely and went in and scored a beauty, and made a 1-goal game. And the SJ had a power play, and I was watching it with Mike Reagan, which was pretty fun, and he was giving me his thoughts on what was happening. And they called timeout, and there was like five Melfort Mustangs and Jacob Streetsy out there, so that's pretty funny. Yeah, and then they just couldn't get the job done, I guess, and then the MJ got an empty netter. But yeah, it was a really dramatic game, and the SJ guys, to their credit, certainly never quit. I know it says Nikita Ivashenko got an assist. That's not accurate. on the score sheet because Nikita did not play at all in the showcase.
No.
I thought to go out with him. He's got some more health issues.
That would have been his replacement
Jeff
then, probably.
Hammond, who did come in, actually played started in the second period of the first game for Team White.
Yeah. So they just didn't change it on the score sheet.
Didn't change it, but that's okay. But yeah, it was a very entertaining game. And again, Austin Dubinsky of Niverville, I was like, they cannot score on this guy.
Yeah,
like,
he had a nice game.
They scored 4, but he was, look,
could have been a lot more.
He was impressive.
I noticed that as well. It seemed like they said his name a lot on the broadcast too. Just like, not just like Austin Dubinsky. It was usually like Austin Dubinsky. Like it was several times throughout the day, and I'm like, jeepers.
It's a broken record, but it was just 4 straight MJ goalie absolute dynamite performances.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that means that going into the final game, it was the record for Team SJ was 2-2-0-1. So if they win this one, they still win the event. If they lose, they lose the event. So they go into the final game, and it ended up in another shootout between the youngsters. And this one, Ashton Tate, he had a beautiful goal midway through the game, but obviously, it just turned into a situation. Again, a lot of saves. It seemed like a goalie duel in this one, and at the end of it, ended in another shootout loss. So technically, the SJ was 500 on the day because they're 2-2-0-2. Manitoba did have 4 wins. So I guess depending on how you look at it.
I prefer to look at it as 2-2.
Yeah, 2-2-0-2 sounds a lot better, and that's what we're going to market as a league.
100%.
So just know that going forward.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was a low-scoring game, good goaltender performances in this one. What do you think about the last game of the tournament or the event?
Yeah, again, it was a goalie duel between O'Halloran of Kindersley there and Tay Timmerman. Who is huge and 07 birth year and wonderful. Esteban sank Mars. He scores the goal there for the MJ, and apparently, I guess it's not a curse to do the starting lineup because he did. They mic'd up the starting lineup of him. For that game, and he scored, and the team won. So I guess I think there might be something else to losing than who does the starting lineup. It was a cagey game. It was tight again. Both the Young Guns games really felt playoff style. Like the Young Gun games were both the most kind of must-watch games of the tournament. They were tight, low scoring, hard to score. All the goalies were absolutely phenomenal, all 4 of them. Malacco, Haller, and Kathler, and Timmerman. And just again, found a way. 15-round shootout. 15-round shootout. And you know what? Again, I'm not a player, so I'm not really hammering people. I'm just saying, if the ice is chewed up after 6 straight games, maybe don't try to deke too much.
Right.
Like, it was just crazy. And they did really lower the temperature in the rink the second day because the ice was getting chewed. But that all still being said, the ice was a mess. So nobody was able to really figure it out. Bryce Bryant, the Bemidji State commit, so impressive. Both games, even though he didn't light up the scoreboard, but he scored in the shootout again. Both nights he scored big goals in the shootout, and he's an impressive kid. And in the end, you roll the dice with a shootout. Yeah, and that was it. And again, both overtimes were very cagey. I think we've seen this just in general in hockey, Clark. Can you tell me if you agree with this? Mm-hmm. Like 3-on-3 when it started, it was like it's going to be electric all the time. Yeah. Now it's like. Yeah, let's defend.
Some people, coaches and players figured out that if you just hold on to the puck and win the line change battles, usually in overtime, if you can catch a team off guard or tired, you get more chances that way. And it's turned into more of a methodical circle back, try again, circle back, try again. Instead of what we all thought it would be is just like attack. It's not quite that way. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it does happen, but for the most part, whoever can win the first face-off and get possession and set it up the right way, take your time, get a chance, that's usually the team that scores. But that's just the hockey world we live in right now. So there you go, 2-2-0-2 for the Team SJ representatives. So for topic 2, Nugsy, of the hat trick here, we'll move on now. Who was the one guy for you in the 6 games that really stood out overall?
So I'm going to do a vet. Yeah. I'm going to do a rookie.
Perfect.
And Cody Bapes, eat your heart out because they're both Weyburn Red Wings.
Oh, boy.
Ethan DK is electric on any patch of ice. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if it's their all-stars over there or if it's another SJ team. He was electric. Everybody was, whenever he had the puck, whenever he made something happen, people stood up and watched. And he wasn't maybe among the point leaders, but he was just so noticeable every time he was on the ice. So there's that. And then 1B for me is Piccinino. He and the Flin Flon boys in general were terrific, but he was sort of the most electric of those Flin Flon boys. So those are my two SJ guys for the vets. And then for the young guns, it was a guy that I think if there was one guy that really opened just eyes that people maybe were like, oh, I didn't realize how good this guy was. Simon Martin of the Weyburn Red Wings. He was dynamic. His skating was great. And I was sitting with Cody watching that last game too. And he was like, he's gritty too. And, some people were like, maybe you should play him a little bit more. Because obviously he's got, the Schrader and Carmen combo. Yeah. He's got the Oxelgren and he's got the Chakrabarty combo. And so then he puts Martin with whoever else is in the lineup. But he's like, oh, we're trying to spread out the minutes a lot. And I'm like, all right. But anyways, a lot of people were like, wow, Simon Martin. So, yeah, he was, kind of surplus to requirements. I don't know if I could put it like that. And in Humboldt and moves on and gets, it's a great deal clearly for Weyburn because he was electric.
So who would you say that your best forward then would have been Ethan Dike, or do you have a different answer for that one in terms of maybe another name you could throw out there?
I guess I'll go. Yeah, I'll say the most impressive there was DK. I'll say the best forward, most clutch, whatever. We'll give it to Piccinino.
Sure.
Though Summers was electric in the first game and not as electric in the second. So if Summers had kept going, then he would have. But Summers was unplayable by the MJ guys in the first game. So
my prediction for leading scorer of the event was going to be Zach Summers, and so after the first game, I got 3 points. I'm like, yes, I'm looking good. Day 2 changed everything.
Yeah.
Who was best defenseman? Who stood out for you there? You can say a veteran because I know you said Simon Martin, but
I mean, I wouldn't say any of the SJ vet defensemen blew me out of the water. Guys were steady. Obviously, anytime people are gonna be like, anytime you put Liam Hunks in a game. But I mean, probably the best defenseman for the SJ was Nick Andrusiak.
Yeah.
And there's a great argument that Nick Andrusiak is the best defenseman in the SJHL period. And that I would agree with that too, as very possible. So I'm going to go with Andrusiak.
What about goalie performances?
Brett O'Halloran for sure.
Yeah,
he was phenomenal in that last game, and again, that kid just keeps keeping when is he going to fall off for Kindersley? And he never does. And game 1 of the playoffs, if it's not Brett O'Halloran in net for Kindersley, then I don't know what happened. But he was phenomenal in every way. And I said to him, actually, he was leaving the rink there. I don't remember who he was with. Maybe Kyle Adamson. But I was like, Brett, man, unbelievable. And he's like, thanks. He's very humble. Not a big dude, but made every save. And both again, that Timmerman O'Halloran duel was really, really interesting. So I enjoyed it.
Who was the worst starting lineup reader of the event?
Well, Esteban Mars because he's francophone. And they made him do it in
That's
English.
why. But we don't need to bring that.
He actually was in the starting lineup, and at the end of the starting lineup for Mars, and he said, "And finally playing D." Me, myself, and I. So I enjoyed that.
That's funny. He did a good job.
Yeah.
All right, let's shift gears. We're going to come back into the SJHL because our guest is ready. So topic 3, before we get to our guest, is just going to be a quick look at the standings as we're now done the showcase. We're moving back into the regular season. Nugsy, you saw the show on Monday with myself and Rory. Yeah. We really dove into this and how things have changed over the last couple of weeks. So as we sit today, as you can see, Melfort does have 3 games in hand on Flin Flon, but the gap has shrunk. Yeah. It's a 4-point gap now between Melfort and Flin Flon for first and second. Then Weyburn has really pushed themselves into the conversation for that top 3 with a 54 points right now. Yorkton hasn't had the best last week and a half or so, 2 weeks. obviously with the showcase, it's probably 2 weeks now, but 47 points, and then it's a log jam from 4 to 8, really. Battleford's at 45 points, Melville at 43, Kindersley at 42, and Humboldt at 41. So there's 6 points now separating 8th and 4th. So Nugsy, we're now in like good week territory. Could change all of this again.
Yeah.
Just like it was at the beginning of the season. One good week or a week and a half or 2 week stretch, all of a sudden you're moving from 8th to 4th, and everything's changing.
Yep.
So obviously, if you watched our SJHL Weekly show on Monday, Rory did a really good deep dive on the battle is now for 4th. It was for a long time 3rd to 10 that was really wide open. But now it's like 4 to 8 is the battle zone. And then if we can bring it up really one more time really quickly, just the teams outside of the playoff picture at the moment, because we have L'Orange there. They're still not out of it. They have 34 points, 7 points now back of Humboldt. Estevan, 10 points back of a playoff spot, but still games in hand. So they could pick up 4 points with a couple wins and move right back into that conversation with L'Orange. They're right there. Notre Dame with 26 points and Nipawin with 21. So, any thoughts on that before we move on? Now, I'm just being told we're just trying to figure out what's going on with our guests. So any thoughts on the standings, Nugsy, as we kind of we shift focus back into the league play?
Well, I mean, I think the thing that's, well, you guys hit the nail on the head about Weyburn being one of those big three.
Yeah.
And they play with pace. They're playing so well right now. You're totally right. They're into that. And the second thing I'll say is L'Orange has a 2-game set in Kindersley this weekend. And if L'Orange doesn't pick up a good haul of points from that, the hill becomes steeper, we'll say. Like, it's not over for L'Orange, but it becomes a very steep hill, and Kindersley's not an easy place to go. We saw how good Red O'Halloran was at the showcase. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if you would agree with this, Clark. Like, is it fair to really predict that the 8 teams in the playoffs right now are the 8 teams that are going to be in the playoffs?
Well, it's looking more and more like it, and only because, Nugsy, I think I agree with something that you've been kind of harping all season. We look at the 8th place team, the Humboldt Broncos, and I think that, like you've said it a lot, but I think that they're a better team than 8th. I think they'll probably finish higher. And when I look at teams in that mix of 4 to 8 right now, Yorkton, I feel like they're just too powerful to drop too far. Battleford's has been they've been like that consistently, weirdly inconsistent, but also consistent team all year. I just don't think they're going to be bad enough for long enough to fall out of the picture. Kindersley added Mason Buchert at the deadline, and I think they're still finding his fit and getting him to grow with the team. And Melville, I think, made some important changes to their roster, and they're just getting that structure of Doug Johnson to play good enough that I think they're going to also be good enough to stick with it. But in saying that, I mean, L'Orange stayed competitive at the deadline despite trading away their top scorer. Estevan made a ton of shifts and changes with their roster, and we'll talk to their head coach and general manager, Drew Kocur, literally momentarily, to get his thoughts on all of this as well.
Yeah.
But with the guys like Steven Steranka coming in and playing as good as he's been, and they have some other guys that they've brought in Caleb Potter. I mean, so they have some guys as well that I'm curious to see what kind of push they can put together. Because like I said, they still have a couple games in hand, and 10 points out is not a death sentence in this league.
It's steep at this point.
It's
but
steep,
it's not death. Yeah.
But with 18, 20 games left, whatever it is, it's not out of the question that they could figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like there is a pretty rejuvenated spirit about the group with Drew Kocur coming in. And I think maybe a fresh voice often can do that for a locker room. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens, and if they can figure out who their goalie is, that probably would help too.
Sure.
Which again is not necessarily their fault, just because they've had goalies and those goalies have left. Mm-hmm. So that's just the way it is. But still, again, I don't. Yeah, you look at that Estevan roster. I loved Kieran Ronan at the showcase. Yeah, I finally kind of met him a few times, and he was really funny and a fun guy to talk to, and grows a great beard, and probably is about 32. Honestly, like he's really impressive. Yeah. Hey, like. Estevan will be no fun to play against, whether they make the playoffs or not.
Sure.
So that's the bottom line.
And speaking of them, there's no better time than this weekend than the game of the month on SaskTel against your Highway 39 rivals. And why don't we bring the man himself in to talk about it now, as we're now going to be joined by Drew Kocur, new head coach and general manager of the Estevan Bruins. Drew, so pumped to have you on with us today. Congrats on the job and everything that's going on there. Let's start, though, with the showcase. You just got back with your guys from the showcase. What were your thoughts on the 3-day event?
Yeah, it was good. It was a good experience, I think, for, not only Ronan and Morsey, but, just to see all the guys play together and, different teams. I thought the MJ did a really good job of, just hosting a great event. And, throughout the whole thing, it was really successful, and the games were good and fast, and it was good hockey to watch.
When you were talking to Kieran Ronan and Kent Moores, what were their thoughts on their play and their performances throughout the event?
Yeah, they felt they played well. I watched their games, and I thought they did really well, shift after shift. They were pretty excited just to play with some other guys, too, from different teams. So, for them, they were happy with their 2 games and their practice and whatnot, and happy to only drive 5 hours instead of 11 hours back. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think without burying the lead too much there, Drew, obviously getting the job just about a week or so ago, I guess now, couple games under your belt now. How has this whirlwind of a couple of weeks been for you as you now enter your first job in the SJHL as a head coach and general manager?
Yeah, it's been a busy 9 days. Obviously mixed emotions. Getting that first game out of the way, and playing Flin Flon. They're a great hockey team. They're structured really well. And then the day off again on the Thursday, and they play back to back with Kinnersley, and they have a great team as well. So, and then for the group, they played really strong on Friday, I thought, for 59 minutes, and just kind of slipped away there at the end. And then Saturday night, I thought we did a really good job bouncing back, and obviously getting 2 points on Saturday, and I thought we played really good hockey those last 3 games.
Yeah, and obviously, with all your experience podcasting and being a broadcaster yourself, all of us have to look over our shoulder now that you can do, coaching and also broadcasting. That is a scary combination. A multi-talented, multi-weapon mix here for Mr. Drew Kocur, and probably a great golfer too.
I've heard some stories about his golf game.
I've heard some good golfing stories.
I've heard some stories.
And good hair too. I guess just talk too about what you learned from Jason Tatarnic. I can't think of a guy who has more experience. I know you and I talked a bunch about that, in Winnipeg, over some delicious food at local near the hotel, just about how much we both admire and love Jason Tatarnic, and maybe what are some things that you learned from him that you want to take into the job?
Yeah, obviously, not a bad thing to say about Tarky. He was great. Him and his family brought, my wife in here, and, he hired me, gave me an opportunity. Taught me a lot of things, just the day-to-day, just how junior A is, and, from, their long days, obviously, and, you got to put a lot of work in, the recruiting aspect. He's, 10 out of 10 dude. He's awesome. And, I just learned so much from him, just from practice habits to, special teams or video or, and recruiting is the big one, too, to be honest. I had success in, the junior B circuit. I was at every game in Sask, and you're kind of just grabbing from a smaller pool. But now at this level, and and so on, you can grab guys from mainly anywhere, kind of thing, right? So to learn from him from that was really important for me. And yeah, like I said, it's a great dude overall, and awesome guy.
Yeah, and obviously it's been well covered. I hope by us in the league and in the media, just in terms of all the moves that were made by the Bruins, around the deadline. And Clark kind of touched on it, but part of your job is not just managing a new head coach, and obviously Turner Ripplinger, congratulations as well, assisting you with Aaron Miller. But also just a fairly new contingent of guys in your room, and a turnover, including my good buddy Ethan Andrews, who we also talked about. But just talk about trying to manage almost a not totally new day, because there's lots of returning, but just a lot of change right now.
Yeah, and obviously at the deadline we got guys like Steven Steranka, Caleb Potter, we got Rylan Ringer, some guys here. We got we have a lot of bodies here, but one thing I think is, just stepping into this is just, make sure that I'm chatting with them lots, see how they're doing, and, get to manage, the roster a little bit here with, maybe some bodies to get in and out of the lineup. But yeah, just, it's good to see new faces too, like, Ethan Andrews that you mentioned, and, and I know I talked about Steven and Caleb and, Ringsy, and, like we brought some bodies in, and, we want to see what they can do the rest of the way. And, even on, I think Friday night, we played, Griffin Horn. He's an AP 16-year-old kid. And, we thought he did really well. Probably have some more prospects coming into some games here near the end of the year, kind of thing, and just want to see what they can do for the next level.
So let's go back to what Nugsy just mentioned, Turner Ripplinger. What a guy. I mean, I've known him for a while. I've known him since he was before his junior days, obviously. I know his dad, his family very well. But what's it like bringing a guy like him in at this point? Obviously, just coming off of a bit of a pro stint himself, but he's a bit of a younger player. I mean, you and I are about the same age, Drew, but so I'm not saying that you're over the hill or anything. But just having a bit of a younger liaison. Am I?
I think that's what you're saying.
Well, we're all old then. We're all old then. But having a guy like Turner who's just a little bit closer, and he's obviously very relatable to the players. What's it like having a guy like him on your bench with you?
Yeah, first off, obviously he's like one of my best buddies, and like he's the biggest thing for me was that he's been here, he's played here, he's been around the community, had success here. Not just the 1 year as last year junior, but just that he played here, and he can walks around the rink. He knows everyone. He's not afraid to spark up a conversation. And he's a smart dude too. And this is kind of his first coaching gig as well. He coached some brick hockey, obviously, with his dad and whatnot. But at the junior level, he's been doing great. He's doing a lot of video stuff already. It's awesome to see, and texting me on some things as well. And it's perfect. And that's what I needed just to kind of get through the rest of the next 2.5 months kind of thing. But yeah, and obviously he's my buddy too, so it's super helpful that way. And then you definitely can't forget about Aaron Miller. Aaron, he's been here so long, and he's great to lean on for anything. He's been here, like I said, I think 10 years or 11 years, and he's just a great advocate, for the Estevan Bruins.
And you can just do your Off the Hosel podcast from your office now. You don't have to
on the bench, maybe
on the bench during the game. Hey, yeah. That would be awesome. I can help you out when the Hounds play the Bruins. Happy to help. You were at the showcase. I'd like to go back there just for a second. I love talking about players. I know you do too. What was one guy that you didn't, everybody was good. We all knew everybody's good because they're at the showcase. But who was one guy maybe that you were like, I didn't realize he was that good? Big on the spot, I know.
Yeah, good question. I'm trying to think now. Well, for my one answer, I'll flip it to the other lead, but that Galt guy was sick.
Yeah.
The player on the he's a nasty player. Yeah, he's a good little player. Trying to think here.
Don't say anyone on Weyburn.
Yeah, all those guys were good, man. The Flint Fun guys, the Weyburn guys. Honestly, I thought both games, I really thought all the guys were pretty good, or shift after shift. The one guy I'll say is, Selzer. Selzer's, he's pretty fun to watch. He's big body, good stick. He does a lot of good things on the ice. Always seems to have a smile on, it seems like. But, he's a big dude and covers a lot of ground on the ice, that's for sure.
So, Drew, as I look now at the standings, we talked about it just before you came on, about the playoff race that's going on right now and everything. I think of the Estevan Bruins as a team that's in a really interesting spot right now. 10 points out at the moment, but, in the 3 games now that you've been at the helm, we've seen goal scoring up a little bit from what it was before. We've seen some changes in how the style of game has been played. What is a Drew Kocur-led team going to look like for the community of Estevan to kind of get behind the rest of the way?
Blue collar, man. Just go to work and, shift after shift and, try and get pucks behind, the other team's D and just go to work. That's, kind of what we're kind of preaching the rest of the way here. And, some guys will have a little bit more opportunity within the lineup. But, just like we talked about as a late is just go to work, get pucks in, and let's just work every shift we're on the ice and work for 60 minutes. And if we get 2 points, we get 2 points. And if not, we're hoping that we work extremely hard for that whole game.
Okay, last one from me, Drew, because I know you and I could both use a rest. after Winnipeg. So no rest for coaches or broadcasters, but could use maybe a little one. I don't know. Anyways, 2-part question. Do you have any advice for any young broadcasters like myself?
Advice for young broadcasters.
Since you've been in the podcast world and stuff for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Any tips? I could use some, as you can see.
Be confident. Do your homework and make sure you ask the best questions. And yeah,
that was part A. Good.
That was part A.
That was part A. Part A. It was kind of a joke, but also serious. And then part B is tomorrow. We'll see you again. Game of the month on SaskTel Max TV local, and hopefully full hockey as well. How excited are you to wear your 3-piece suit on crystal clear 4K and just sort of preview the game a little bit for us?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be wearing a 3-piece tomorrow.
Come on.
No, I'm excited. It's always fun. The rivalry between the Estevan and Weyburn, and we get them on SaskTel Max at home. Hats off to Cody and his group there. They have a really good squad. They play well, play fast. So we have to be ready to go for that first puck drop. And I thought Millsy and Rip did a good job this week with the preparation. And then today we skated, and we'll have to go at them. And hopefully it's 2 points for the good guys.
There you go, Cody. We're rooting for you. Best of luck the rest of the way. Obviously.
Drew, you mean?
Oh, sorry. What did I say? Did I say Cody?
Yeah.
Oops. Not Cody. That's the other guy.
Best of luck to both of you.
Drew. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You said Cody, got my mind crossed. Anyways, Drew.
Yeah.
Best of luck. Best of luck the rest of the way. We're rooting for you. And obviously, good luck this weekend. It's a tough opponent coming in, and obviously it's a home and home. And I know the crowds will be rocking, so it'll be an exciting weekend for you. So best of luck, and we'll chat with you again down the road.
Thanks, fellas. Anytime.
All right. Definitely not Cody Mapes. That was Drew Kocur.
100%.
That was Drew Kocur.
100%
Head
Drew
coach
Kocur.
and general manager of the Estevan Bruins. He will be playing Cody Mapes, as we talked about just now, on Friday in the game of the month for SaskTel. Nukesy's going to be involved. Who else is on the broadcast for that? I thought Nolan Cole was going to be there. Is that Nolan?
Nolan will be there. Last time out, people were like, "Oh, why isn't it you and Rory there in Nipawin?" And obviously, Nick Nielsen and I had a great time, and I love working with Nick. Oh, but there's something super comfortable to me about calling a game with Rory. Rory will be doing play-by-play. I'll be doing color, and then Sean Mullen, who's back from the Nipawin game, the longtime Swift Current Broncos broadcaster.
Yeah,
he'll be sort of doing the hosting and whatever, and then Nolan Cole, the former Estevan Bruins broadcaster, will be back. Between the benches and providing interviews during the game and stuff. So 4-man crew should be a lot of fun.
I saw Nolan put out a tweet, I think it was earlier today, about it and how excited he is to get back in with the team he used to broadcast for. So that's pretty awesome.
And I saw him in Winnipeg because he works out at the.
Yes,
that's right.
That's what he said. He was so excited,
and we just can't hide it.
He just can't hide it.
Just can't hide it. But he wasn't hiding at the rink. He was there in Winnipeg because he's from Winnipeg.
Yeah, right.
And he was there working out at the rink that the games were at. So
guy's a machine.
It was great to see that guy.
So that's good. We love to see it, and it's going to be a great broadcast, so check it out. Obviously, SaskTel Game of the Month with the broadcast crew in Estevan against Weyburn. And that brings us to our kind of final point. I think we're going to wrap it up here. We're going to keep it, for us, relatively short. And I think everybody's okay with that, given it's been a busy week. But let's just have a look at the schedule. We don't have the graphic for you if you're watching on YouTube, but that's okay. We'll just read through it here. So Notre Dame's going to be in Yorkton tomorrow night. Weyburn in Estevan for that game of the month we talked about at Affinity Place. Humboldt's going to be in Battlefords at the Access Communication Center. That's going to be a huge game, as I mentioned, because if Humboldt wins, hypothetically, they could actually move into 6th place from 8th. So that's a big game on Friday night. Moving into Saturday, there's only 3 games on Friday. Moving into Saturday, there's 5. We'll start with Melville visiting Nipawin. Estevan then goes down the highway to Weyburn for a flip-flop of venues there. Battlefords will be in Humboldt. Melfort in Flin Flon again for a top 2 heavyweight duel. That'll be a good one.
Get your tickets now.
Get your tickets, honestly, in Flin Flon. And then Larange will be in Kindersley for game 1 of a back-to-back series at the Interpipeline Arena. So on Sunday, as I mentioned, a 4 o'clock game, Larange and Kindersley again will be in their second game there. Nipawin flip-flops with Melville. They head to the CN Community Center in Melville. And then finally, Yorkton takes on Estevan. So a busy weekend, 3-3 for Estevan. So no rest, as you mentioned, for definitely not Cody Mapes, Drew Kocur, as the Estevan Bruins are going to be busy this weekend. So Nugsy, anything you're super looking forward to? I mean, you have one game this weekend on Friday, but you're going to be in Estevan anyways. So the Hounds are playing, but you're not going to be there. But anything else you're looking forward to this weekend outside of the game of the week or month, I should say?
Well, I mean, first of all, I want to say you guys did a great job on that weekly show.
Oh, thank you.
Which we did listen to the whole one, and I did get Marko Djordjevic to type in comments.
Yeah, as soon as we ended the show, I looked back at YouTube because I have it on my laptop during the show, and there was like 12, and I'm like, oh shoot, 12. I missed. Well, there was 6 or 7, and I missed them, and I'm sorry for that.
But it was nice to. You guys did a great job, and
Thank
everybody
you.
knew you did a great job. But also people did say like they missed me, which was very sweet.
Yeah, we all
so
did.
I appreciate that too, and you guys were very kind on the show to say that you missed me too. So I appreciate that.
I did call Benny Walchuk an upgrade at one point, but that was a joke.
I totally tuned that part out.
That was a joke.
I totally tuned that part out. All right. So what I'm looking forward to, well, we can't bury the lead. It's a rematch of the finals.
Yeah.
Flin Flons cut that lead to 4, even though with the games in hand.
Yeah.
Games in hand don't mean anything if you don't win them.
Got to win them.
So
And this
if
would be
you're
a huge
Trevor
one.
Blevins, coming off of that loss to the Nipawin Hawks, and he had a really good chat with Tad Kozin, I could see about that game. That's going to be something else.
Yeah.
Put the Whitney.
Yeah.
Get your tickets now.
That's going to be great. Yeah, I think that's the one. I mean, obviously, the only other storyline, there's a couple, but the big storyline outside of the heavyweight battle and the game of the month for me is just that Larange Kindersley series. Because if Larange wants to get back into that playoff race, really, truly, 4 points against Kindersley specifically this weekend would go a very long way for that. That would put them at 38 points, and it would not allow Kindersley to get anything. So they would actually move into just 4 points behind Kindersley. So wherever Kindersley ends up after the weekend, if Larange can get 4 points, that would be a huge start to their playoff push. So that's the only other headline to me that really, really stands out. A lot of great games, though. So if you are in the areas of these games, there are, what did I just say? There's 11 games this weekend. 3 on Sunday, 3 on Friday, 5 on Saturday.
I'm really bad with math.
I think that's 6 and 5. So yeah, I think we've got 11 games this weekend. If you're in the area for any of them, make sure you're getting out, getting your tickets, getting to the rink. It's going to be a great weekend. And it's just the home stretch is here. We're here. The home stretch the showcase is behind us.
Yeah.
The home stretch is here.
I just too want to say the MJHL, Kevin Surratt, the commissioner, Eric Swar, the media guy, they are so kind and they do such a wonderful job organizing it. Man, like every time I meet those guys, I'm blown away by their professionalism. And they loved it. And I'll also say, a lot of people love what we are doing in the SJ with the media.
Oh, good.
And a lot of people said, it makes one SJ player said that it makes them feel like NHL players, the coverage we give them. So yes, we're patting ourselves on the back a little here.
Thank you, Bryce.
But this goes to Bryce and to Kelly and to Steven and everybody. I'm not leaving anybody on purpose.
We're definitely leaving Ryan out on purpose, though.
The RB show out on purpose, and Rory and everybody. That was cool to hear too. But love those MJ guys. They do a wonderful job too, and it's cool to be their partners. And we hate to lose to them. And it sucked that we lost a couple of games there, but it was great too, and we get along great. So
2-2-0-2.
Just
officially.
2-2-2 I went with.
2-2-2, yeah. But if we're being really official, it's 2-2-0-2. But to me, that's not a losing record.
Neither team were trying to score in overtime. So I'm just kidding. I'm sure they were trying.
There you go. All right. Well, make sure you follow us on all of our social media channels. Like I said, 11 games this weekend. Get your Flow Hockey subscription if you don't have it already. Great broadcast again. Shout out to the MJHL. We really enjoyed the game broadcast that they did over the last couple of days at the showcase. So thank you to everybody there involved. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, and of course on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. We'll have you covered for all the action if you miss it. We'll be back on Monday for SJHL Weekly. It should be a very we're back to regular, I think. Nugsy's going to be here. I think Rory's here.
Regular is special.
Regular is special. And it's going to be February 3rd why do I feel like I have something going on? This is going to be a problem for me. I'll figure it out after the show. I'm not going to do it live on the air here.
That's good.
But I feel like something's going on, but I'll let you guys know. I should be fine. I know what it is. We have a special guest on Monday. We have the Saskatchewan representative for the Canadian Mental Health Association joining us, and we're going to be talking about their program. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Talk today.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So it's going to be a lot of fun having him on. And I don't think we've picked a hockey guest yet for Monday.
No.
But I think we have a lot of good candidates.
It'll unfold this
it
week.
usually comes together over the weekend. So that should be a ton of fun. So make sure you tune in on Monday. Nugsy, I'm just gonna close it out here. We're gonna close it out. I'm gonna let you get some rest. Go see your family. And enjoy the hockey this weekend, everyone. Until Monday, have a great weekend. And again, get out to the rinks and enjoy that hockey.
This episode of SJHL Insider is presented by our friends at SGI. A reminder from our friends at SGI, if you do go out, have a good time, but make sure those good times can happen again by always finding a safe ride home.